Hello and welcome to another video of Frankie's World. Today we're going to do something a little different, because usually you see videos of me driving to all these lovely and beautiful places. Sorry, bit of a bad cough there. But it kind of gives the impression that Badger is only a bit of a fun bike, but Badger is really a working bike. I drive my bike to work 5 days a week, and usually early in the morning, especially this time of year where it's nice and dark, and at 5 o'clock in the morning there is not much traffic on, so I'm taking advantage of that fact when the streets of Leixlip, as we set out to our journey to Dublin, East Point Business Park, and early in the morning, and it's quite cold, and round trip on each day is about 72 kilometers, so 5 days a week, that's 350 kilometers per week, and that's roughly 1,000 kilometers a month. So it's no surprise that the Badger has passed the 6,000 miles already. So it's a pretty good measure of reliability of this bike, especially since we're heading into the winter season when conditions are far from ideal for normal cruising. So didn't have slippery roads yet, but it can be quite wet, and sometimes you got a couple of surprises on the road, especially early in the morning. The first bits of frost are manifesting themselves already, so it means you have to be careful on the road. But yeah, that's so far so good. It's not been a problem with Badger at all. I have to say I had different experiences with my other bike, the Marauder. I'm going to be talking about the Marauder a little bit later on. But I have to say I drive very comfortable on Badger. Road handling properties are really good. It's got good brakes. It might not be the best brakes in the world, but it's definitely are the best brakes I ever had on a motorbike, so I'm not complaining. It's definitely the first time that I have a motorbike with ABS, so that's definitely a big plus for me. And as I said, it's like Badger is a working bike. You would think that now that the summer season is gone and you don't see too many videos of Badgers going into all these lovely beautiful places in Ireland, that it's standing in the garage, but the truth is Badger is eating away all the miles here. I have to say the trips that Badger has to take daily, the commute to work, is quite ideal for this type of bike. You know, it's not too short, it's not too long. One-way trip is about 36 kilometers. Kind of like ease out of the sleepy city of or sleepy town of Leixlip, and it gives plenty time of the bike to warm up before we head onto the N7, and like you see here, we just start overtaking this bus. Engine is nicely warming up by now, so putting a little bit more speed on it, and that's good for the bike. You know, it's a good workout, and the bike has been performing exceptionally well. I mean, it's not a road racer, but I'm in the opinion of the bike having, enough power for what it needs to do. It gets me to work every day, and I don't think the bike is lacking of any power. At some points I would even say it's an advantage. I mean, the usage is pretty good. Getting about 6 euro cents the kilometer out of the bike in terms of fuel, so that's pretty good. And some people might say that the bike is underpowered compared to what else is on the market, but really, from what I'm experiencing in my daily commutes, I've got exactly what I need now. You might see like a couple of people overtaking me here in this video, and funny enough, if they would be heading to the same destination as I would probably overtake them by the time we get to the city. So traffic in Ireland is a bit weird, a bit strange. You either have people that drive about 10 kilometers below the speed limit, and then everybody else who doesn't drive 10 kilometers below the speed limit drives about 20 kilometers above the speed limit. So if you're kind of riding in between, you either have to swirl around people going too slow and keep eyes in the back of your head for the people that think they're on a racing track. You have to keep your eyes peeled, especially in the dark. A lot of the Irish drivers don't realize what indicators are actually for. You actually use them to indicate what you are planning to do, not just to, blinking on the moment you're actually taking the turn. So, well, you're lucky if they're using it. Sometimes they don't use it at all. They just like switch the lane and pull up in front of you, and you just have to be lucky enough to have your crystal ball to know what they're doing. So you get to sort of develop the sixth sense for that, and you try to keep a good bit of space behind people that you just have a funny feeling about, or you just give them a wide berth and leave them far enough behind you that they're not a worry anymore. But I was talking about the Marauder that I had, and I had that bike for about 10 years. And about 5 years ago, I spent quite a bit of time and money in it to revise the engine and to do her up. The idea was that once I got Badger, I would like to do a little bit more onto the paintwork on the Marauder and have the Marauder more as a fun bike. But as it is, the moment I ran Badger in, I haven't looked at the Marauder ever since. Badger is just easier to handle in traffic, and especially in wet weather. Badger just handles a lot better, and I think it's more dually because, the tires are a lot thinner, like the smaller tires. There's less power onto them. It's like only a 32 brake horsepower bike. But that also means that your contact to the road is much better, and you don't have to risk as much as braking out into turns, into roundabouts, what I often had with a Marauder. Sometimes the road in Ireland, it feels like somebody greased them all up, especially after the rain. The roads are very greasy, and that you always used to trouble the Marauder. It was always a bit tricky going into a roundabout, and often enough you would feel the back of it slide away, and it was very easy to get it to spin, or to feel the rear tire just slipping around and losing its grip. And I haven't experienced that with Badger at all. While I'm driving basically the same speeds with the bike, because maybe in the morning you can put some real speed into it because there's not much on the road, but other than that, you don't have a lot of opportunity in Ireland to actually full up the throttle. Certainly there are people that drive their bikes and they put the speed on it, but maybe because I'm 54 now, I don't I had that time, and if you think about it hard enough, for my commute to work, it's maybe gain 5-10 minutes. I'd rather arrive alive and drive another day. So, and it's quite relaxing as well. It's at the moment I'm driving here on the motorway, and I'm usually driving between 100-120 kilometers per hour. You see these lovely toll signs on the road. One big advantage of having a motorbike, that's especially when you're taking the M50 around Dublin. You don't pay toll on a motorbike, so that saves you quite some money. I can imagine that at some point the weather conditions get so bad that when it gets really slippery, I'm not going to be a fool and then let's have to revert to taking the train into town and then a shuttle bus to work. It's not too much of a hassle. It just means that instead of just over about 35 minutes getting to work, it's going to take me 90 minutes. So that's going to be a bit of a bother. But for the time being, it's like weather conditions are good. It can be a bit cold, but you got good gear for that. And Badger so far has been proving very reliable in getting me to work. No starting problems, no problems with wet weather. Today I'm lucky. It's dry, because sometimes you can have like real nasty downpour, and there can be quite a layer of water on the road, hampering your visibility as well, because we don't have the window wipers on the helmet visors, and still, it gets us through traffic. So, but it really takes me back as well, as learning more, getting used to the motorbike, getting used to Badger. First of all, it did bring me back to the very first motorbike I ever owned, which was a Royal Enfield Bullet 350. It had so much in common, but at the same time it was also very different to Badger. I would say road handling, the way it turned into corners, was basically the same, but you couldn't really compare the brakes. The brakes on Badger are just a new era compared to the old 350 Bullet that had the drum brakes. Starting up Badger is definitely a lot easier than the old 350 Bullet, where you basically have to go through this ritual every morning, pumping up the carburetor and then applying the choke, and you switch on the contact and you use the decompressor and rotate it with a kickstarter until you saw the little amp meter going into the minus, and that's when you gave it a hell of a whack. And with a bit of luck it would start up, and with a bit of bad luck it would kick back and you would fly on the other side of the bike. Nevertheless, I really enjoyed that bike. It taught me a lot about bikes, and it did break down. It did leave me stranded somewhere out and about, but it was an easy bike to work on, and I always got it back on running again, always managed to get it back home. One time I bent a pusher rod, and I actually put a pencil in it, and it held until I got home. So yeah, it was amazing, amazing adventure. The great thing about that particular Bullet 350 is that I owned it for a bit. I got it when I got it into the military, and then it went under the care of my father for a while. My father rode it for a bit, and as things will go, after a while the Enfield came back to me again. So yeah, I got a lot of fun memories of Royal Enfield. So that is basically what sparked me to go looking up Royal Enfield again when it was time to have an alternative, or maybe even a replacement for a Marauder. And I have to say, the comparing the experiences to the old Bullet 350 and now the EFI 500 with all its electronic ignition and ABS and all those sneaky modern upgrades, it is a much better bike. It is a much more reliable bike. And well, definitely you can tell the difference between a 350 or a 500, but you still have that same nostalgic look and feel on the bike. And I'm getting more and more to the idea that I might get rid of the Marauder altogether, because I haven't even looked at my Marauder anymore. I start it up once in a while and thinking like, yeah, I should take it apart and do the paint job and this and that, but Badger is so much fun to drive. Even it's like when you start your day and you get to work, your day just starts good because you just, spend some time on something that you love driving. I love the way Badger handles, and sure, there are faster bikes and there are prettier bikes, and I don't know, but it's a combination of the Royal Enfield 500 that brings a bit of that nostalgia back, but not too much of the nostalgia that you need to carry a toolkit on the back just in case. So now, knock on wood, nothing happened yet. So, and I'll have to say, with the 1,000 kilometers per month that I'm basically putting Badger through, it's definitely a good test for the bike. If there were any weaknesses in its function, if there were any snags or hiccups, they would have shown by now. Hear some of the stories, and I addressed some of those stories in some of the videos as well, as Royal Enfields being sensitive to water. Well, I've ridden to so many downpours and soaking wet with the water floating out of my boots arriving at home. Badger never misses a beat. Also, a good thing is I get on the M50, where the fun really begins. Like here, I'm starting. I just got off the motorway, so I'm just taking this slip road, which is going to take me into Dublin itself, north side of Dublin, and that is basically where Badger is the most fun, zipping in and out of traffic, because it's the type of bike it is. It likes to go into the corners. It's quick enough taking off by the lights. It's got good brakes, good balance on the bike. So it's just a lot of fun, and it's what some people might consider the lack of power, as only having around 30 brake horsepower. It doesn't really show into town, and for myself, not even on a motorway, because on a motorway she handles fine. 120 kilometers per hour cruising speed it's doable, and I don't have the big windscreen on it, so if you're doing 120, you got the wind blowing into your face. You are experiencing the speed. And that's something that I kind of missed on the Marauder. A Marauder had a big windshield, and you could do 140, and it's you're comfortable. You didn't even realize you were going, with a kind of speed. And coming back on a naked bike, it just puts you back in contact with the elements again. It kind of makes it a little bit more challenging, a little bit more fun. And maybe people are right that people that drive Royal Enfields are just a bunch of masochists. But it's just a part of fun of driving the bike. And yeah, sure, the modifications that I've put onto it, the exhaust, air filter, different type of spark plug, ECU, piggyback, and the bigger front sprocket. They gave it a little bit more touring durability and a little bit boost in power, but it didn't break the bank to get that done. And after doing it, it felt more like the engine was finally in a state where it was basically kind of designed for. And it is just fun. It's I mean, it's like this bike is like a €7,000 bike, brand new, and it's only 7,000 because it's a limited edition, because it's a Pegasus. If you know, you're happy with the normal editions, which also look great. It's €6,000, and maybe you spend another €600 on modifications, but you got, you know, a brand new bike that performs well, that gets you to work. As proven now here, it's like I'm doing this commute, you know, a good 72 kilometers a day, a good 1,000 kilometers in a month through all types of weather, and it performs really well. So you kind of wonder why sometimes you get onto forums and people are really slagging down on Royal Enfields, like there is no place for them on the road. But you know, still, I'm going like, yeah, but why would you need all that extra power? It's like, you're not going to go on the race circuit. Well, at least I'm not. And for daily use, the bike has everything that it needs for daily use, for commuting, but also if you just want to go into the countryside and enjoy the scenery, or just, you know, go to this special destination to just relax and, you know, enjoy the summer months. It's the bike basically says like, okay, whatever you want to do, let's go, let's do this. The only thing I haven't really tried yet is off-road, but I've heard that the Royal Enfield TFI 500 is definitely not afraid of doing a little bit off-road adventuring. I'm sure it's, you know, it's not typically designed in its current form to do off-road, but the chassis and the way the bike is built, it does have a history of doing some off-road enduro things in the 50s and the 60s. It was made a pretty big name for it. So yeah, like, maybe that's something to look into next summer. And in the meantime, I'll just keep on enjoying this bike and the way it performs and the way it gets me where I want to go, where I need to be in good time and in one piece, because that's also important. And that's a bit of a security that I kind of like get on the Enfield, especially in terms of brakes and road handling, that I don't have on the Marauder. The Marauder has like oodles of power. I mean, compared to the Enfield, the Marauder, like, I souped it up a bit, so it's had a stage 3 kit and everything, so it's close to 70 brake horsepower that it puts on the back wheel. But you have to be very careful with it, because the brakes certainly aren't as good. The suspension is definitely not as good. And, you know, you really want to have a dry road when you know, want to put all this power on the road, otherwise, you know, you're going to have a bad time. Now, I'm sure that, you know, you can make use of a bike with more power, but why? And that's the thing that's kind of starts when you drive a Royal Enfield. It's like when you realize, like, you're only about 30 brake horsepower, but it's enough. It does exactly what it needs to do. You got oodles of torque. You zip away through traffic like what I'm doing here. Is like, you know, all those people that have been passing me over on the M50. Here's what I get them back. So, and the handling of the bike, it invites it. It gives that feeling of control of, I can do this here, I can zip in and out whenever I want to. And I've never felt that I was like short of power to get out of a situation. In fact, the bike is very forgiving, even if you like should have switched to a lower gear. It will have the tendency to pull you through anyway with the crazy amount of torque it has at the lower RPM. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to do this video, because usually we're talking about a destination or a certain modification or some highlight or event that happened. But I reckon it would be fun just to show Badger in the way it's being used daily, and as a very reliable, very capable motorbike. And 5 days a week, and in the summertime when the weather is nice, it's 7 days a week. But yeah, definitely anybody saying that the Royal Enfield is not a bike for daily use or daily commute, they have no idea what they're talking about, because this little bike, it rocks. Plus all the extra things you get, because whenever I stop to fuel up or just stop in front of a shop, it's like there's always somebody's going to be talking about the bike or asking about the bike. Most people can't believe it's brand new. They think you like restored it or something. But you know, there's always, you know, always somebody asking about where do you get it, or somebody commenting, oh, like I used to have drive motorbikes in the 70s. They talk about their BSAs and the Nortons, and they remember the Royal Enfields. And that's the thing, you know, it's like Nortons, they're gone. BSA, they're gone. Royal Enfield is still here. It is the oldest still manufacturing motorcycle brand. It's older than Harley Davidson. And I think it's like it has that, you know, it has that charm, it has that heritage, and it shows that heritage. You look at an Enfield and it really shows, you know, from what era they made their name and fame. So, and I guess, you know, Royal Enfield kind of grows on you as well, because they're just fun to drive, and you just get this bond with it. And people find it hard to believe that for you it is the most perfect motorcycle you could ever wish for. And of course you can disagree, but I tell you one thing, all Royal Enfield owners will agree. Anyways, I think this was enough waffling. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time, and thanks for watching.